Hey, what's up? I'm gonna try to make this quick. Here's how to set up a 3D skybox in Godot. So I have this basic little scene with just a dude that I can walk around. Okay, so what we do is in Godot we use sub viewports our um, for our 3D skybox, and I'm going to put that in its own canvas layer so that we can reorder it within the tree and just use the layer, but that's just to have a little more freedom. um, so as I said, we want a sub viewport, which we need to put in a sub viewport container. That is the control that houses it, and let's anchor it to all the edges and also turn on stretch over here. Then we need to add a sub viewport, and with this sub viewport there's a few settings I want to set on always update and turn off handle input locally. And then each sub viewport needs a camera within it, so let's go ahead and add a camera to that, and it shows that stuff. Now, one thing I like to do with my 3D Skybox camera, so that's what this is set it to its own layer. So I've designated layer 20, which seems pretty out of the way as the Skybox layer. I'm going to turn all these off, and it will only render what's on layer 20. So it will no longer render the ground, which if we had 1 on it, it will still render that. So here, let's just pop it back to the original. I want to set up another canvas layer, and actually here, let's just go ahead and duplicate this guy. This is our 3D skybox canvas, and this is our, let's just say, game canvas. And then here we can get rid of this guy. The important thing is with the sub viewport, we do want it to handle input locally. Very importantly, we want it to have a transparent background, and then on top of that you're going to want to go down to audio listener here and enable 3D. So each viewport needs to have a camera as a child. So what we can do for now is just grab the character body, our player controller, and just stick it under there, and if we go back to the subport, we can see that it's showing the ground. Now if I run the scene, it will not match up. The Skybox camera isn't rotating with our normal camera. So what we're going to want to do is add an additional script to this. And what I'm going to do is actually, we're going to reparent it to a new node, and that's just going to be a node 3D. I'm going to give it a script and call that script follower. Okay, so here's the script. You can just pause and copy it down. I think that's going to be a lot more efficient than watching me stumble through typing while trying to talk. So this is all you need. It's a little overwrit, but it'll do, because all we're doing is we're telling the parent of the Skybox camera to follow along with the main camera, and we want to do it in a deferred loop, so regardless of where this is in the tree, the script will execute last after the camera has moved. So go ahead and pause and copy that down, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so now we got that script on the node 3D, that's the parent of the Skybox camera, and we're going to want to grab the main camera and plop it right in there as the target. Okay, go ahead and hit play, and we should see the horizon looking just like the horizon should look. Not much to see there, so let's add some stuff. I'm going to add a quick node 3D as a parent and add to that a mesh instance. I'm going to make that a good old sphere, and very importantly, I'm going to set the visual instance 3D layer to 20, my Skybox layer. I'm gonna stick it out there, and then I'm gonna do it again, and this time I'm gonna make it a torus, because I don't know, toruses are pretty chill. Gonna stick it on 20, gonna move it I don't know, around a little bit, give a little tilt, and hit play. Okay, that's looking pretty funky, floating out there. We could animate them, but one thing I like to do to pretty much all of my projects is throw in some stars that I got from this asset right here. This is Tiffany's Starlight asset, and it is fantastic. Great work, Tiffany. After a couple modifications, then I have the ability to set the layer as I so please. I set it to 20, and then just for good measure, I turn off the sky. If you're wondering what changes I made to the star script, I added this visibility layers parameter, and then I added a ready function that assigns that visibility layer to the first child, the multi-mesh instance. And just like that, we're in some sort of weird, funky space place. Additionally, you might not want to parent your character to the sub viewport, but you still do want your camera parented to it. So what we're going to do is create a new node and make this an anchor for the camera. So we'll move it to the same local position as the camera. Paste value. Just go ahead and call it camera anchor, and then take the camera and move it down in here, reparent it to a new node, node 3D, and then don't forget to clear out the position on the camera so it sits in the right place. We're going to make this new node a follower, and then on that we need to assign as its target the camera anchor. We do want to update the position, updating the rotation, and we're doing it all in the regular process loop, so we don't need to turn these physics loops on. And then we are not going to do it in a deferred update, because what's going to happen is the character's going to move, then this is one's going to wait, then this is going to move, and then in the deferred call this one will move. So if you move things around, you might have to adjust that, but I'll leave that to you. And then we can just hit play, and everything should work as intended. And yes, indeed. We can add some more stuff. We can animate the stuff, and you can just, there's a lot you can do with this this tool. If you have an issue where you're not seeing anything in the skybox, it's all just darkness like this, then what we need to do is turn on the light, go to your directional light 3D, or add an additional one just for the skybox. You're going to want to scroll down and find the visual instances 3D layers and turn on 20. And we are back in action. Alright, so there are a lot of things you can do with this. You can mix and match orthogonal and perspective cameras. You can make your thing take place in another thing, and then animate that other thing. You can modify the stretch shrink of the sub viewport container of your 3D skybox so it draws at a different resolution for, you know, style. Look at that. Doesn't that look funky? Alright, so this has been a briefer on how to make a 3D skybox. There's a lot of potential here, and I hope you learned something. I hope you make something fun, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.